to go. You don't want to miss this action. Round 14, Alien Corey with the call. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Maria. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the penultimate round of Day 2. I'm Ailey Loney alongside Corey Baumeister.
Hey.
And guess what, Corey? It's not a food deck. Woo!
You know, I kind of wanted to see Phoenix and Food one more time. Just keep letting them play against Food until they win one, and then we'll move on to something else. That's what I'm saying.
Can I just say, Julian Wellman has glorious hair. Goodness,
yeah,
sir.
I'm very, very jealous. Usually I kind of get an afro when I grow mine out, but nothing even close to that glorious hair. That's amazing.
All right, let's see if the power of the hair compels him. He's going to have to mulligan there, just a one-lander, but 2 copies of Talia and a Talia's Lieutenant, so a decent hand to keep. Can chuck one of those redundant copies away, or maybe want to keep it just in case an unholy heat that we do see in hand there for Luis Scott-Vargas takes care of one of these legendaries.
Yeah, I think I would absolutely keep both of them. Smart choice there because they just die so often. Because, well, if they don't die, it makes Luis's life a bit more hectic, as we've seen from some of these Selesnya aggro decks in the past. But we did just see Luis beat one of these Selesnya aggro decks here in the hands of Ian Burrell. So, you know, definitely not out of range for Luis to be able to do it again. Ooh, big draw.
Big draw indeed. Turn 1 Sentinel is exactly what you want as the humans deck. Just put a tax on every single spell that Luis wants to cast. But he's just going to get some damage in here with the Dragon's Rage channel and being like, come on, you want to trade? You want to trade? This is going to get out of hand.
Please?
I know you want to. Yeah.
All right.
But a nice 1-2 punch from both players. Yeah, Dragon's Rage Channeler with Ledger Shredder down. Esper Sentinel into Talia's Lieutenant. Or excuse me, Talia, Guardian of Thraben. And there is the namesake card, Collected Company in hand there for Julian Wellman.
Yep, absolutely. And this is the list. We saw Ian Burrell playing something that isn't really human synergistic. This one is trying to maximize on those synergies with Thalia's Lieutenant. You also see 4 Inquisitors Captain and 4 Collected Company. So maxing out on that pay 4 mana, get 2 things style of Magic.
Yep. That's what you... That's what you're relying on this weekend. Collected Company does, of course, get taxed by Talia, Guardian of Thraben, so there is a downside, but for the most part, like the desk said, if you can just get a bunch of dudes down, chances are Luis won't be able to keep control of them, as Unholy Heat will take care of Talia, and will be able to pay for the Esper Sentinel tax too.
I mean, that's what I said about the last match, and then I think Luis took that personally and then decided to win. So I'm just going to say this is an even match. It's 50-50, as Riley would say. Luis is either going to win or lose. Easy.
Yep. That's life in general. It's 50-50. If you want, whatever is going to happen, it's a chance it does or it doesn't.
Yeah, I think we were learning from Riley already here. He is an educator, so we're learning some very serious lessons. Yeah.
Very good hands, yes. All right, so big thanks now here for Julian. Did find a 3rd copy of Talia, so can continue putting that tax on Luis's spells.
Yeah, seems like a big think, but it really seems like only one play to me, and that's get in there for one and replay one of these Thalia Guardian of Thraben's. And that's what Julian decides to do, especially with drawing another Thalia Guardian of Thraben. You just want to make sure you throw that out there in case Luis wants to point another removal spell at that one.
Oh, yeah. Consider plenty of things to do here. He will pay for the tax, though. And likely going to start digging here for another removal spell. There's an Expressive Iteration, so not a bad find. But it's just going to have to be satisfied with 3 spells in hand and 2 dudes on the battlefield right now.
Yeah, that's definitely what you don't want to see if you're on the Izzet Phoenix side and you're up against Esper Sentinel and Thalia Guardian of Thraben. It's just a bunch of the blue cards. Expressive Iteration we're going to put as a blue card now because it is mainly card advantage. You really need some of those removal spells. And Luis doesn't have a ton, in the game 1 configuration. We have those 4 Unholy Heats, 1 Pillar of Flames. Kind of the go-to number that we've been seeing is 5 removal spells, which I think looking back at the last set championships, that was kind of crazy because, well, there was usually a lot less threats when you weren't playing Symmetry Sage and Ledger Shredder.
Thalia's lieutenant down on the battlefield now gonna pump up the team and make it so Thalia can get swinging here. In for 3, down to 12 goes Luis, and Esper Sentinel's tax just went higher. Crazy inflation even affects cards in a, Magic game.
Yeah, there you go. Nice. I'm pretty shocked, actually, that we didn't see... Actually, as I was about to say that, I realized, of course, Thalia Tax does work on Collected Company. I was going to say that we didn't see Collected Company. I'll stop myself there and just pass it right back to you.
Well, if Luis does Julian a solid here and kills this Thalia, then we are good to go with 1 Collected Company. But he's just gonna hang tight for the time being. Pause the turn back, but there's line number 5, so we can Collected Company for Julian and the humans. Does he go for it? Are you gonna pull the trigger? If not, what else are you doing this turn?
Yeah, to quote you, if not, why not? We do see the only one Spell Pierce that really can counter this, but that is 1 card. Julian's probably looking at this list and saying, like, God, this is just such a blowout if it happens. But yeah, I think it's really tough to not do that. That is exactly what your deck's doing, and that's really only what Julian's hand is doing as well. So we'll see.
I'm channeling my inner Palpatine. Do it. Come on. Come on.
Here
I believe.
Comes Thalia, and this could be an opportunity for Julian to get blown out if, Luis were to just play 2 1-mana spells and then connive with Ledger Shredder and then block with a 2/4. So decides not to block here in case a Collected Company was on the horizons.
Esper Sentinel, trigger on the stack. Does Luis want to pay for it this time? He would have an out to get a removal spell if he doesn't pay for it here. But yeah, we're going to go for Coco.
And here we
Collected
go.
Company on the stack.
Oh.
That was
a sad one. Impressive. We have not seen very good Collected Companies so far. Of course, there are certain companies where that card is just one of the best cards you can possibly see at the 4 converted mana cost slot, but we've seen a lot of whiffing these days. These last 2 days, I should say.
Yeah, it hasn't performed great in the last one, but oof, when it goes off, it feels so good.
So very
So
good.
I can understand the appeal to play humans in this match, or in this tournament for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been seeing Simon doing great with it. Simon is at, that 10-3 record where, he even thinks with 1 more win, his breakers were pretty good, that he'd be able to make it to the top 8. And that's already 1 in contention for the top 8. So, pretty impressive showing from a deck that isn't one of the big 3 that we saw when the metagame first came out.
For sure. Both these players still have a chance to make top 8. They just have to win the next 2 rounds and cross their fingers that their breaks are good enough. Unholy Heat takes care of Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. No extra land or no extra card being given to the Esper Sentinel.
Yeah, and exactly. They're in that top 8 scrum where 2 more wins and they have a solid chance at it. Luis is also very close here in 9th place for the League World Championship race at 78 points. The line is 81 points. That's only 1 win. So he's definitely has a good chance at it.
That is super close indeed. Expressive Iteration's gonna go digging through the top of the library. Unholy Heat sent to exile, and that will take care of this pesky Esper Sentinel. The tax was paid already, so he's not gonna get a card off of this. You gotta kind of feel bad for this little guy, huh? He hasn't gotten any cards this game.
Yeah, Luis has really been very efficient with his mana here, making sure to control the Selesnya Humans deck. And just the way that Luis's draw has kind of come together, he's drawn a lot of the Unholy Heat, so you're really trying to play this resource game because Luis right now can't just be jamming in with everything and fall too far behind here. So just gets in with the DRC, which has to attack.
Yeah. That's got no choice in the matter. Ooh, Skyclave Apparition. That's a great draw for Julian Wellman, getting rid of this Ledger Shredder or even the Dragon's Rage Channeler, depending on what he values killing more here. But certainly a great answer to these flying threats.
Had to be the best draw on the deck. And Julian only playing 2 copies, not kind of see a gulp there from Luis, not what he wanted to see. And to pile it on, This Thalia is really not going to be what Luis wants to see. Yep, we see a little shrug there. And that's 3 out of the 4 Thalias being drawn, which is just incredible in this matchup.
That's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, goodness. So
now you have to opt.
Ledger Shredder down.
Yeah, now you have to opt and maybe try to find another land, even though that's not really what you want in this scenario at all. It's just Thalia makes you play so brutally here. To try to chain together spells.
It's like all the efficiency of the deck just goes bye-bye out the window as soon as Thalia hits the battlefield. So there was a land found. Unfortunately, it is Den of the Bugbear. It enters tapped. Dragon's Rage Channeler has to go. And yeah, this is looking pretty bad news. Bears
this
nothing
is just game.
that Luis can do at this point.
You see Julian kind of staring at that like, ooh, I think you're dead. And yeah, Julian, your math is correct.
There's no 0 mana card that can interact with your board, so you're good to go there, bud. But let's just take a squiz, see what the top of the library has in store. Catilda Dawnheart Prime, in with the team, turn dude sideways, and there's the concession from Luis. That one hurt. You could see the bit of grimace on his face there.
Yeah, and I do love the way Luis played at the end of the game. Of course, the game was over, but just not conceding until your opponent does the thing. You know, I mean, you got to leave your opponent as much room as possible to make mistakes. You know, that's really what it's all about. And Luis Reed Duke, one of the specialists in that kind of thing, just be like, absolutely play it out until my life total goes to 0. It's definitely the correct way to play Magic.
For sure, and we've seen it several times this weekend actually, where the opponent is making you play out like you will kill me, and then we'll go to the next game because you're using all your things, you're using all your resources and your clock.
And your clock. Yeah, it's a big reason as well. Probably not coming down to the clock in this one. I'd be pretty shocked, but yeah, I totally agree with you, Ailey.
And you can just sit back and see what they do, especially with the Jeskai Storm decks.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You can knit a sweater in the time it takes them to do some of their turns.
Yeah. Your opponent gives you a coloring book while you combo off. Absolutely, yep.
That would be nice. It's like a nice thing to do as you walk into a matchup on tabletop specifically.
Yep.
But let's take a look at the sideboarding here.
I have seen it before, believe it or not. That's a Storm player brought a coloring book for your opponent while they combo off. Yep, it's impressive stuff. One card I do want to bring some attention to from Julian here is that Crawl Harpooner. The way that these Izzet decks are constructed now with a lot more threats on the battlefield and, playing to the battlefield a lot more with Symmetry Sage and Ledger Shredder, being able to play that and not have to trade away your Crawl Harpooner is so powerful. So a really nice addition to have a couple of those for these Phoenix matchups.
For sure. And bringing in the Graveyard Hate, the Unlicensed Hearse.
Yep.
We've seen that get absolutely ginormous against these Phoenix or other graveyard strategies, as well as Tormod's Crypt. On the other side of things, Luis, again, one of the fastest players I've ever seen. He's also incredibly fast when it comes to sideboarding, brings in some more removal, brings in the Crackling Drake, and out with the Symmetry Sage, Spell Pierce, which does not all that much, and an Ox of Agonis ×2. So, let's boogie.
A player like Luis Scott-Vargas, who has been around the block so much and just one of the, for sure top 5 best players in the world, just even can recognize like, oh, this style of matchup, played Phoenix decks across multiple formats. You know what kind of cards you need to take out. You know what your plan is post-board. And, pretty simple in these kind of matchups. You need to be killing their creature. You need to be doing a little bit bigger things. So even though Luis maybe has not played this specific matchup thousands of times, he's played matches like this that fit the template 1,000 times, so he definitely knows what to be doing when it comes to, Magic the Gathering.
Consider into Expressive Iteration. We now have an attacking 3/3 on turn 2, which is exactly where you want to be. Unfortunately, though, if this Crawl Harpooner comes down, this little Symmetry Sage is getting a little bit squashed.
Oh, such a good sideboard tech. And we've seen this card a little bit in small numbers, but most of the time in previous set championships, it was just an additional way. I mean, honestly, I think this was before Brutal Cathar, where you could just play Crawl Harpooner and have a way to deal with Crackling Drake. Just a 2-mana, removal spell, a 2-mana Doomblade, if you will, for these cards. But now, with these addition of these kind of cheaper flyers, it's just a 3/2 body and kills the card. So it got a huge upgrade for this set championship.
Definitely did. Expressive Iteration will be the go-to here. There's a Spire Bluff Canal, Expressive Iteration, and a Consider for Luis. So Expressive Iteration back in the deck, and we're going to get rid of this Crawl Harpooner so that the birds are free to fly. 2 Phoenixes in hand for Luis.
And I think some of the things Luis doesn't want to see is like Esper Sentinel and Thalia or Adeline. Adeline is just incredibly powerful and incredibly tough to deal with whenever you don't have Delirium. So anytime in these early stages of the game, and that's going to be a big one here.
Yeah, that's going to hurt. Really wants to find that fry. So Expressive Iteration, let's get digging.
Faithless Looting would have been a big draw.
Oof, that would have been fantastic. Dragon's Rage Channeler, an excellent find as well. So that will likely be Luis's play for the turn.
Yep.
And he's got to dig now. He's got to find a way to deal with this Adeline because she can definitely run away with the game.
Yeah, and Luis isn't at the spot yet where, you know, it's kind of that desperation consider that we kind of saw, you know, with Nassif against Paulo trying to get these crazy draws to compete with Golgari Food. Not quite there yet, but decides to try to go for consider anyways, but consider to try to find Faithless Looting to have a really over-the-top turn is coming with a couple other good plays from Julian.
For sure. You need to start racing here because Julian is off to the races with Inquisitor Captain on the stack here. Let's see what he can find out of the library. What's it gonna be?
The collected company that doesn't miss, at least this early in the game.
Oh, man.
Interesting.
Choice here. Opt goes into the bin. There's the fry. Okay, all right. Now we're cooking. Well, at least Adeline's gonna be cooking when she gets fried.
2 great choices there from Julian. 2 very pesky cards. I think I like Thalia, but both are very pesky for Luis to deal with here.
He hasn't played a land yet, but Forsaken Crossroads comes in tapped as he was... No, he's on the draw.
No, he did play a land.
land.
Yep, played a land and then slammed Inquisitor Captain. Here comes Crackles. And Luis is not going to like this because there is the perfect answer, and the only other card in Julian's hand is that Skyclave to deal with Crackling Drake. You know, normally that becomes a bit of a liability to put a 4 converted mana cost creature underneath it because that is a very, you know, incredible blocker against this deck, but it's just snowballing kind of out of control here for Luis. And without any sweepers in the sideboard, you know, and he burned down the houses or anything like that, Anger the Gods, it's going to be a really tough one to come back from.
Yeah, this is going to be an unpleasant sight for Luis. Skyclave Apparition takes care of Crackles, as you called him so affectionately. And that Adeline is a big last right now. 6-4, 3-3. 2-1-1-1-1-1. This thing looks good here for Luis.
Yeah, and with that Thalia, you can't even picture some really insane turn where you can string together maybe a couple Faithless Lootings to bring back a bunch of Phoenixes. Because this Fry kind of has to go to Adeline. Maybe now it does have to go at Thalia. I think step 1 is Luis Scott-Vargas has to draw Faithless Looting, and maybe we can survive a turn. Not even like win, but survive a turn. Oof. Well, at least you can kill Thalia and Adeline, and then you have 5, 6, 7 damage. So Luis would go to 1 if he decides to take that line, but that Sheffet Dunes, I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember exactly what it does, but I know it puts counters on in some way, so it can probably, you know, figure out at least 1 point of damage here.
Yeah, creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn.
Yep, absolutely. You got to sacrifice it. There's also the cave there for the creature land. So looking like Luis Scott-Vargas is going to have to win next round and do some hoping.
That's exactly right, my friend. So Julian Wellman sitting pretty right now, poised to 2-0 in round 14 and improve his record. Poseidon, who endures, is going to take care of Den of the Bugbear there, and we'll find another land here for Luis. Definitely doesn't want one of those steam vents, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, and we've been talking a lot about Luis Scott-Vargas, but we got to give some props to Julian here, making it in on the very last set championship to qualify for this one, and now at 9 wins has qualified for Pro Tour 1 here later on, as well as having a chance at the top 8. You know, stringing these kind of finishes together is not easy. So huge congrats to Julian for, you know, really making these qualifications count.
Yep. There's the Shepherd Dunes. We have 2 removal spells here for Luis. Shepherd Dunes is going to pop. And we will see the team get chunky. And I think that is going to be more than enough to take care of Luis here. He does have Delirium, Unholy Heat. We can get a blocker.
Yeah, that's a good point. You
Is that
can kill
enough?
Skyclave instead of killing Thalia. I went kind of tunnel vision to try to kill the card that's annoying you the most. But yeah, dealing with the 4/4, then blocking Thalia, that's still 8. So you can't even block Thalia. That's the brutal part. You have to just trade with Inquisitor Captain,
With 4/4.
which is less good.
Jeez. Unbelievable stuff here. Go wide, smack face. It's a good way to win games of Magic.
Absolutely.
Woof.
And these human-based Selesnya aggro decks, you know, Ian Burrell's version, where it seemed like there's a lot more hateful cards for the matchups. Yeah, don't do that. Julian was like, come on, do that block, take that one. And here can be 2 blockers, but that is just barely not enough, as there would be 4 attackers from Julian.
Goodness me, oh my.
There's Faithless Looting.
All
Luis
can do
chuckled.
is chuckle.
Because that's what he needed for so many turns for it to be over.
Yep, and as you mentioned, plenty of attackers go in here. Luis is at 1. There's the concession, and a 2-0 for Julian Wellman. Good job, sir. Making humans look good. Huh?
Yeah, making humans look really powerful. Somebody other than Simon Nielsen being able to, win with